Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is Friday, December 3rd. I'm here in New York. It's a little chilly today, but at least the sun is shining. As you know, I'm a sales coach and trainer. I work with both individuals and organizations to help them get measurable and sustainable sales increases. And I founded the Sales Pro Network for two reasons. One, to elevate the profession of sales, and two, to help you make more money. Every Friday, as you know, at 10 a.m. Eastern, we either do a live training with me or I bring in a guest who can add value to the profession of sales. And I guarantee, as I always say, today is no exception. It's my pleasure to introduce you to my friend, Susan Enns. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to see you. I was trying to think of how we first met, Susan. I think I responded to a post that you made on LinkedIn because I was so impressed with what you had said that I reached out and we became friendly after that. Does that sound right to you?
It does sound right. I know it was through LinkedIn, and you know, I appreciate your content. You've mentioned you appreciate my content, and I think that's we bonded, became friends over wanting to advance the profession of sales. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly right. And the reason I responded to Susan and continue to all the time is because she just makes sense. She doesn't teach fancy stuff. She has the fundamentals down and she knows what it takes to be successful in sales. And yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anything that she's ever written where I'd go, no, that's way off base. Everything she writes is just, yeah, that's exactly what I would say. And of course, we all love people who think like us. So Susan, would you maybe to get us started, maybe give us a short background, a minute or two on what brought you up to this point to be a sales coach?
Sure. And I appreciate the feedback, Jeff. I've been in sales in one form or another, for 30 plus odd years now. Started out feet on the street, like a lot of us, doing 80 dials a day. And not having much success until my mentor taught me how to sell. And he took me from there to the top sales rep in the country, in Canada here, 2 years running. We took those same skills, got promoted to sales management. We ran the top branch in the country, took those same techniques, and we created a national channel sales organization, affectionately called Timbuktu Canada, as I call it, from coast to coast to coast. And that sales organization went through a 39% average annual growth rate every year for 5 years. Then my business partner and I decided, you know what? It's time maybe to even expand who we teach how to sell more. And so we started B2B Sales Connections in 2008, and we haven't looked back since. Books, websites, coaching, that's what we do. Our job is to teach people to sell more.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about your website later, which is chock full of great information. Most of it free. It's incredible. I actually have a question about that because you're so generous. By the way, if you're watching us live, please say hello. If you have not connected your Facebook to StreamYard, I won't know who you are. It's just going to say Facebook user. So if you haven't done that, please say hello and say who you are. Good morning, Steve Kent. Always good to see you. Mac Burnett. Good to see you, my friend. A pleasure. If you're watching us on the replay, please put replay into the comments when you do. So Susan, let's start out with sales success. How do you actually define that? What is sales success?
Excellent question. Well, I can guarantee it's not just reaching quota. Everybody's got to define sales success in their own way, right? And quota is not your goal, but you probably have your own goals. I define my sales success as being able to fund the lifestyle I want to live. Bottom line. So every year, and I'm about to do it as you know, the end of December draws near, I will sit down and I'll write out all my goals that I want to accomplish this coming up in 2022. And it's not just business goals, it's personal goals. And I'm an avid golfer, so I have to work that time in and this kind of stuff. So I define my sales success as what is the lifestyle I want to live? What is the income I have to earn to fund it? And then what do I have to do each and every day to earn it? And it's so everybody defines sales success, in my opinion, Jeff, in their own way. All right. They have to figure out what are their goals. You mentioned we've got a goal setting and action planning worksheet on our website available for free. Go download it, go through the process and figure out what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Do you want to buy a home? Do you want to buy a car? Do you want to retire early? Whatever it is, do you want to put your kids through school? Whatever it is, define your goals and then figure out what you have to do each and every day to do it. What's a customer worth to you? How many customers do you need? How many people do you have to talk to get a customer? How many discovery meetings? How many prospecting calls? What is it that you have to do each and every day so that when we're here a year from now, you've checked off all your short-term goals and you're moving towards your long-term goals.
Yeah. You're talking about the science of selling. Selling is both an art and a science, but there is a science to it. And of course, we have to know the skills and the tools and the techniques and the strategies. But there is those metrics, which most salespeople just don't want to do. And by the way, I could not agree more. If you're committed to making $1 million a year and that's success for you, that's great. If you're committed to 50,000 a year, that's great too. I like you. I'm committed to having my life be the way I want to live it.
Exactly.
I think you may remember, I live a block from the ocean. I want to take an hour and go to the beach almost every day and go for a swim.
Exactly.
I have to make enough money to take care of my 3 kids and my ex-wife and all the other stuff too. But I want my life to be, that to me is success also. And I have to agree with something else. Hitting quota, that's not success. No. To me, when I coach sales managers, and I do a lot of that these days, sales managers and VPs of sales, I always coach the same thing. Hitting quota, that's your job. Your job is to hit quota. The reward for achieving your quota is you get to keep your job.
Exactly.
You want us to shoot off fireworks and put you up on our backs and hold you up for applause? Yeah. Blow it away.
Yeah.
Exactly. How about, I get asked this constantly, and I'm sure you do too, prospecting. Everybody, it's the bane of almost everybody's existence. I always say that anybody who tells me they enjoy prospecting is either lying or crazy, but we have to do it. I know that you own a company, part of your company actually does phone prospecting for other people and organizations.
Yeah.
Do you have any best tips for us? Maybe a couple of 2, 3?
Absolutely. And the first thing is the first tip I would have is make sure you know who's most likely to buy from you. Have a clear definition of your target market. It's dangerous to think that anybody can buy from you. And we hear this all the time from sales managers, from entrepreneurs. A number of our clients say, oh, anybody can buy my product. Well, yeah, anybody can, but who will? And have a really clear definition of who buys your product and why. Okay. The why is very, very important in terms of defining who your target prospect is, right? It's in fact, December is a perfect time. Pick up the phone, talk to your best customers and just say, hi, how are you? Season's greetings, everything running smoothly. And by the way, why'd you buy from us, right? Those are great stories to tell to get future prospects. In fact, it's also not a bad time to ask for referrals, but that's another story. It's a great December activity in my mind. So that's the first thing. Truly take the time to define your target market, the commonalities within them, is size of company, etc. Second is you have to know when is the right time to contact a prospect. Okay. Contacting a prospect is not just dialing for dollars. You have to develop some really good pre-qualifying questions to determine if it's the right time for the sale, right? Is it the right time from the customer's perspective? Anybody doesn't buy at any time, all right? If I was selling cars, when would you rather speak to me, Jeff, in the first year of my lease or the last year of my lease? It's the timing of the sale, right? So you have to develop those pre-qualifying questions so that every time you connect with a suspect, you have to ask yourself, are they truly a prospect? And if they are a prospect, are they a prospect today? And if they're not a prospect today, then when, right? And it's not just as simple as asking, when does your car lease expire? You have to come up with some really good qualifying questions. And then lastly is how to describe in 15 seconds what you do, right? That elevator pitch. And here's a hint. This is something I tell many clients is what you sell is not what you do. It's not. In my mind, what you do is the biggest benefit you derive for your customers. That's coming back to that, why do customers buy from you? And if you can put that into that 15-second elevator pitch, that is a great headline for your prospecting approaches, whether you're doing it email or content marketing or whatever. So those would be, I guess, my top three prospecting tips.
Yeah, 1,000,000% there. I don't sell sales training. I don't sell sales coaching. I sell increased sales, a shorter sales cycle.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And I'm so with you. You've got to develop what I call an ideal client profile. If you don't know what your best customer should look like, how are you going to recognize them when they show up? And if you don't, you typically are going to waste a lot of time talking to people who have no desire to buy anything that you've got, no desire to even talk to you. I also love what you just said. I smiled because I had a sales meeting with one of the teams I managed just this Wednesday, and I told them the exact thing you just said. Talk to your customers and ask them why they buy from you. They are your best source of business intelligence. And the interesting thing is, what they tell you may not be what you think. And I'm going to share this with you because I'm sure you can relate. I ended a 1.5-year consulting engagement, and I was debriefing with the VP of sales and all the sales managers. And we were going around the room, what could I have done better? What did you like? What didn't you like? Things like that. And to a person, they all said, what we really like best is our salespeople now have more confidence. Now, I've been doing this a long time, and it never once occurred to me that what I do is I give salespeople confidence. It makes perfect sense now that they told me that, but I never thought of that before. I'm going to give you some skills and some tools. You're going to make more money. It never thought confidence, but to a person, all 9 of them were like, our people are so much more confident. Well, and you can bet now I'm using that intelligence because everybody I speak to, it's like, well, my customers tell me that one of the things they like best is when I get done, their salespeople have more confidence.
Exactly. Success breeds that success. Exactly. I love it. Love it.
Absolutely. Good morning, Larry Weiss, the phone guy. Good to see you. By the way, guys, if you have any questions for Susan, please put them in the comments. She's happy to answer them. So how do you eliminate phone tag?
By a couple different ways to eliminate phone tag. The first thing that you do, in my mind, is you book the next appointment before you leave the last one. Right? And so you want to eliminate voicemail, then book the next appointment right before you leave. That to me is the biggest thing to eliminate phone tag. The second thing that drives me crazy about communication is sometimes the illusion that it actually exists. Okay. How many times have you had this kind of phone tag? Hey, Jeff and Susan, give me a call. And then you phone back and I'm in another appointment. Hey, Susan, it's Jeff. Returned your call. Give me a call. Yeah. So another way to eliminate phone tag internally is use detailed messages. Okay. As for example, when I was a sales manager, if a sales rep had a question for me, I wanted them to leave the question right on my voicemail, so that when I call them back, if they're in an appointment, I can leave the answer to their question there. Right? If you're a sales manager, don't be the bottleneck when a sales rep needs a question to close a sale and you're playing phone tag. Don't stand in that way. The second thing with phone tag is partly with customers and prospects too. Okay. Leave a good message. Leave a message that has value. Leave a tell me more message of how can you make me sell more? I want to know. We've been able to help customers sell more. In fact, one customer, Jeff, on my voicemail, received a testimonial that says, thanks for the training. I achieved my quota this year in May. I think I can help you too. Give me a call back. You can also stop, from a sales rep's perspective, stop making the mistakes that make it impossible for sales reps or customers to return your call. Okay. Slow down, leave your number, and say your number twice. Here's a good tip about when you leave your phone number, write it down at the same time. If you can say it slow enough that you can write it down your phone number at the same time, so can your prospects. So we've got tons of voicemail tips like that. But those are some ways that I eliminate phone tag. But the key is don't leave one appointment before booking the next.
To me, Susan, I always tell audiences this. I'm about to tell you the most important thing that I will share with you. This is the number one tip I'm going to give you no matter how long we work together. And it's exactly that. Never leave a meeting or a phone call without setting up the next meeting or phone call. I call that the best next action step philosophy.
Agreed.
And, after Jeff, how do I get my lazy ass salespeople to go on more appointments? The other question I get all the time is, how do we shorten our sales cycle? You want to shorten your sales cycle? Don't leave a meeting or phone call without setting up the next one. Otherwise, it's, hey, Susan, I've got your proposal ready. Or, hey, Susan, I'm following up on the proposal. That's a message I hate, by the way. I'm just following up on the proposal, which really means, did you decide to do business with me but forget to let me know? No, they didn't. add value. Oh, this is why I love talking to you.
Well, exactly. And it's following up with a proposal. Well, you should know where your proposal was when you finish proposing it. You should know where the customer is in terms of, did you present the right solution for them today? If it was, great. What's the next step? When is it going to happen? Always determine that right time frame of the sale. Following up on a proposal is just a waste of time, as you say. Well, it's not a waste of time, but you can make it better.
Well, calling and leaving a message saying, I'm just calling to follow up on the proposal, that is a waste of time. You're wasting everybody's. If you're not adding value on every message, every interaction, then something's wrong. Why would people want to do business with you unless they're getting value? And we have to give first. How about, I go back to the fact that you own a company. Part of your company actually does telephone prospecting. Are you a fan of scripting or no script?
To script or no to script? That is the question. And here's the thing. I'm a huge fan of scripting. I completely believe in scripting, and I'm on record many, many times of scripting. I know some people will say, oh, you tend to sound canned that way. Well, okay, I don't know of any Academy Award-winning actor or actress that goes in front of the camera without rehearsing the script. They just rehearse it so well that it sounds natural, all right? And all the best salespeople I've worked with over the 30 plus odd years, and I was one of them, okay, always had a script. And they might challenge me on that, but I'm going to say this. You do any joint field work with a top producer and you go to call, whether it's prospecting, discovery, or presentation, I will bet you will hear certain phrases over and over and over and over again. Why? Because they work. To me, that's scripting. Right. So I'm a big believer in scripting, always have been, always will be.
Yeah, as am I. Look, my preference would be that we salespeople are so smart and so fast on our feet that we don't need a script and we can just have a real conversation with people. But most of us aren't that good. And the other thing is that the conversation happens in an instant. It's like the prospect has their objections tattooed on the inside of their eyeballs. Cold calling, especially, it's interruptive marketing. And good morning to Mitch Tobel, the marketing guy. Good to see you, my friend. He says we should get nasty with the next action step.
I like that. I might use that, Mitch.
But it's insane to not be constantly moving it forward. And if you don't have the experience and ability to have that off the cuff conversation, which most of us don't, you need a script. The other thing is, if you say the same things every time, you're going to get the same responses every time, and you can be prepared for them. Now, I'm not saying every prospect is going to say the same exact thing, but in my experience, there are only 7 objections that people give you when they're not going to give you an appointment. So if you can be prepared for those and listen to which one you are getting, you've got a better shot of getting an appointment, and you don't have a million chances. It may take a million touches to get somebody, but you don't have a million chances. You've got 30 seconds to get their attention and maybe get an appointment.
Exactly. Let me give you an example. Okay, there's a blog post that my business partner wrote. It's called the $3 Million Voicemail. And he worked with this client and scripted their voicemail to bring value, to bring that ask me more, tell me more response. Happened. They were doing a blitz day. And one rep picked up the phone, used the script. It was a tell me more. Prospect called back, and it happened to be the right time at the right place. Granted, that doesn't happen all the time, but they ended up within that month closing a $3 million deal. So if you don't think that scripting and voicemail works, just read the blog post about the $3 million voicemail. And
you know what? Now that you mentioned that, I think that's where I first saw you. I think that was the first post I ever read by you. The $3 million voicemail. I said, I don't know what this is, but I got to find out, because if it paid somebody $3 million, I want to know about it. How about, one of the things that's crucial, like I mentioned, it takes a lot of touches just to reach somebody the first time. But when you're trying to stay in touch with a client or a prospect, how many touches per year do you recommend that a rep needs to use to stay top of mind? And what type of touches, what type of ways to stay in touch are there that you recommend?
Well, I think it depends on the situation, and depends on your product, and it depends where that customer is in that buying cycle. You mentioned that buying cycle. Am I first year of my lease, or am I in the last year of my lease? And if you know in your business that the buying cycle, people tend to renegotiate the use of your product every 3 years, for example, I would have different touch points and different frequencies of touch points in the first year, second year, third year, and fourth year. All right. So if I know chances are that they're not buying for 4 years. I'm going to contact them. Maybe if they're on my email list, I'm going to sell them something of value, send them something of value, a good piece of content that just keeps my name out there, right? I'm not trying to sell anything because it's not the right time to sell anything. So maybe an automated email list, maybe a phone call to say, hi, I sent you this piece of content, content. Did you find it useful? That's great. Touch base in a few months. So maybe in that, if it's 3 years out, maybe once a quarter, okay, depending on how much content you have to send out in an email. As we get closer to when they're going to start renegotiating their contract, and as I said, the buying cycle has nothing to do with how often they use their product. It's when they're going to renegotiate the use of that product. I drive my car every day, but I only do a lease every 4 years, right? So as it gets closer, I will bump up that content to perhaps and contact perhaps every month. Okay, have you started looking at what's available? I will do that as a diversified prospecting approach. Some email, some phone. Depending on the product, there may even be some face-to-face visits to open up the process again. You can certainly do, well, even these days, you can do those virtually as well, right? It's like we're talking in the same room here. And then when it really gets down to, okay, they're going to start renegotiating or they're on their buying cycle right away, then I will do it every week. If I know I've got a product that I can help them get to where they want to go, and I'm the best person to help that prospect get to where they want to go, no follow-up is too much.
Yeah, I suggest we actually owe it to not just ourselves, but to the prospect.
Yeah.
To stay in touch until they tell us not to. If we truly, what you said, if we truly have something of value to them, if we're wasting their time, it's just not worth it. Don't bother. But you do need to stay in touch. And I'm going to share something with you now that I'm thinking maybe I made a mistake here, but my friend Mitch Tobel, who I just showed you, and he now says the AVE to increase sales, add value every time, 1,000,000%. The reason I love Mitch so much because he's a marketing expert, but he also gets sales completely. And this story has to do with Mitch. So Mitch is not only a brilliant marketing guy, he designs beautiful websites, and he just redid mine. He does a fantastic job. I think this is the third website of mine that he's done. And he sent me the sample to take a look at before I gave final approval. I said, "Oh, Mitch, I asked you to take out my newsletter form because I don't send my newsletter," which he did immediately. But here's why I think I may have made a mistake, and here's the story. Must be 3 or 4 years ago, I got a call from somebody, and the guy on the phone identifies himself, and he goes, "You probably don't remember me, but we met 5 years ago." And he told me his name, and I said, "I apologize. I meet a lot of people. I'm a professional speaker. Sometimes I meet 500 people in a day." You refreshed my memory. And when he started explaining who he was, I said, "Oh, yes, of course, I remember you. You called me up because you were having a national sales meeting. We were talking about bringing me in to do something with your team. How can I help you?" And he explained he was having another national sales meeting. This was 5 years after we had first met, and he wanted to bring me in. So the first question I asked was, "Wow, what happened the first time? Why didn't we do business 5 years ago?" And he laughingly said, "Well, Jeff, I'll tell you the truth. It was sticker shock." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is my prices have not gone up in the last 5 years. The bad news is they haven't gone down." And he said, "No, I know what you charge. Don't worry about it." And we had a great conversation. At the end of the conversation, I asked, "I'm just curious about something. I know guys like me are calling you 15 times a week." He's the president of a large organization with a bunch of salespeople. I know you get 15 calls a week from guys like me. How did I stick in your mind for the last 5 years? Because I know my mom thinks highly of me, but I can't expect you to. What did it?" He goes, "Oh, that's easy. It's your monthly newsletter. I get it every month. I distribute it throughout my entire company, not just the salespeople. I love it." And the reason he loves it, by the way, and I'm sure you agree, it's not about we're running a great promotion or we're the greatest company in the world. It was always me just giving information, adding value, like your website does. So that's the key. You got to keep in touch with people because your competition is going to.
Well, that's exactly it. And if you don't take care of your customer, somebody else will, right? So I send out a newsletter regularly. In fact, I send out several, depending on which email list you're subscribed to. Are you in sales, sales management, sales agent management, which is a little different. So yeah, it's a great way to stay top of mind. That's the key. But as you say, it has to be relevant and interesting, and not just a sales newsletter, not just "I'm selling to you" sales newsletter. It has to be a sales, how to sell newsletter, I guess is a better way of putting it.
Mitch said mistakes mean I'm making progress, so I'm growing. Okay, that's good.
The learning never stops. What's the old saying? It's what you learn after you think you know it all that counts. Yeah.
I thought I knew it all at about 18, and then I started telling my stepdad, who's passed away since. I said, "I got to tell you something. The older I get, the smarter you get."
Well said. Well said.
Here's another subject that's near and dear to
Yep.
my heart: referrals. I
Yes.
find that most salespeople don't get a lot, and the reason is they don't ask for them.
Yeah.
How do you feel about referrals? Should they ask for them, and what's the best way to do it?
I have a whole video on that exact approach on the website of exactly what I use. And you're right. Studies show more and more that salespeople don't ask for referrals.
Crazy.
And which is boggling to me, because they're the best referral source, the best lead source that I know of. Right. In fact, that's how social media was founded. You're telling two friends about something you like, and they tell two friends, and they tell two friends. Well, referrals are the same thing. But I think more salespeople don't ask for referrals because they truly don't know how. Okay. And it's back to that confidence thing. If you don't know how, if you're not confident in doing it, you're not going to get success from it. Therefore, you're going to stop asking for it. So I think asking for referrals should become part of your regular sales process. I believe that every closed sale should open up a new sale. And I think, so one of the things about asking for referrals is I highly recommend that no matter what you're selling, that you start booking an after sale follow-up call appointment with each one of your customers. It can be 2 weeks after installation, whatever you're selling, or it can be, or it can be a month. And here's the basis of that, Jeff. I know that most salespeople think the sale stops when the contract is signed. The customer thinks that's just when it starts, right? So we have to do that. So you book that and you say, hey, Mr. Customer, it's been a month since you're using our solution. Did we say what we said we were going to do? Great. Well, can you think of any other colleagues or customers? Can you name 5 other people that I should contact that might have a similar use to our solution, that I can benefit them the same way I benefited you? Now, there's a couple to that. I asked for 5. The reason I ask for 5 is if you ask for 5, you'll get 3. If you ask for 3, you'll get 1. If you ask for some, you'll get none. Okay, so you have to be specific. And the second thing that happens is a lot of times we're asking for referrals out of the blue, and people they don't have somebody in mind right away, and say, Jeff, I can appreciate that I asked that today, maybe unexpectedly. Now, having said that, if you tell them you're going to ask in a month, they'll be much better prepared for it. But here's a form. You can just put some names and email addresses on it, and I'll come back to you in 2 weeks to see if you've thought of anybody. Does that sound fair, Jeff? Right. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, and this is critical, is once you get a referral and you contact that referral, go back and thank your referral source. You don't have to tell them all about what happened. Just say, hey, Jeff, thanks very much. I talked to Sam, appreciate the introduction, and we're having some great conversations. Thanks very much, right? 2 things are going to happen. You're going to feel good for that Sam's happy because Sam's your friend. 2, you're probably going to say, hey, Susan, I thought of somebody else you should contact, right? And get another referral. So you have to make it part of your actual sales process. And as I said, I give you the exact script in the video. Just go into our website, search how to ask for referrals, and you'll see the whole thing right there.
Yep. Close a deal, ask for referrals. Don't close a deal, ask for referrals. Meet somebody in the lobby of a department store, ask everybody, because one of my favorite phrases in life in general is, you never know. It's why I'll go out on almost any blind date. Almost. But you really do never know. Look, I'm a sales expert. You're a sales expert. I don't know every time when a deal is going to close. The ones that I think are certain sometimes don't come through. The ones that I think that aren't going to come through sometimes do. But almost everybody who is your prospect or customer knows somebody else similar to them. VPs of sales know other VPs of sales. Marketing guys know other marketing guys. Telephone guys know other telephone guys. So if I'm selling to VPs of sales and I've just closed a deal, I bet that VP of sales knows 2 or 3 or 10 other VPs of sales that they can refer me to. And you're absolutely right. You got to ask, and ask in the right way. The words I choose to use are, hey, as you probably know, I build my business through direct referrals from people just like you. Who do you know that I should be speaking with?
Yep.
And you got to ask everybody, because a well-done introduction, a well-made referral, they're 50% closed, because you're using the other person's social capital. If I introduce you to somebody, I'm putting myself on the line, and that I'm only going to introduce you to people who already like me and trust me. It's crazy to not ask for referrals.
But so having said that, when you look at the statistics, and I've quoted some studies in that article on our blog post, probably less than 60% of, or probably more than 60% of sales reps don't ask for referrals.
Never. They just don't ask.
Nope.
Crazy.
Nope.
And my friend Larry Weiss says our company, ACG Telecom, is built 100% on referrals. We've never advertised and never made a cold call. 100%. Love that.
Exactly.
One of the other things that I find quite often comes up, especially with my coaching clients, it's usually one of the first things we work on. And here's where this comes up all the time. When I'm doing large scale, programs, not dealing one-on-one with somebody, we have to break the ice in the morning to get people talking. And one of the things I always do is I'll ask them what their favorite book is and what their biggest challenge is. And 50% of every audience says their biggest challenge is time management. And the other 50%, once the first person says time management, the other 50% go, oh yeah, time management, that's big for me too. Yeah. So what suggestions do you have for how salespeople should organize their time?
Not suggestions. I've got a proven formula that works. Okay. And it's probably one of the most popular downloads, free downloads on our website, is how salespeople should organize their time. The fact of the matter is, I get so frustrated when I hear things like, I don't have time to prospect, okay, or I don't have time to work out, all right, or whatever. I don't have time, all right? It drives me crazy. The fact of the matter is, if the top producers can find time to prospect, so can you, all right? We all have 24 hours in a day. It's just how we choose to spend it, right? So we need to structure our time so that we get everything that's important in. And I'm talking everything that's important, including family time. I'm a cancer survivor, so family time is really important for my balance in life. So everything that's important needs to be scheduled. So here's some real quick tips on how salespeople can get more out of their week. First, find whatever you use to keep track of your time. Make sure you can see the whole week at a time. All right. Whether it's your phone with Google Calendar on it. I use Google Calendar, but have it so that you can see the whole week at a time. All right. And what I always do is when I'm working this week, I'm working this week to book next week. Okay. So that's kind of important too. So what I do, the first thing that I do when I'm sitting down on a Friday and I'm booking my next week is I will go through and everything that is, there you go. Okay.
Full week at a time, baby. Full week at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So book in all the appointments that are for sure booked. Okay. So you might have prospects, a meeting on this time, a meeting on that time, a meeting on this time. Book all of those in wherever they go. Okay. You might have recurring meetings, weekly sales meetings, weekly one-on-one meetings with your sales manager. Whatever it is that you have those meetings, schedule them in. In fact, in Google Calendar, what I love is you can make them reoccurring and they'll schedule each other all the way along. Right. The next thing, and here's the key, okay, everybody should book a minimum of 1 hour lead generation / prospecting time a day. Minimum. Okay.
I never see that on people's calendars, Susan. I always ask clients, show me your calendar. Where's prospecting time?
Yeah.
Where's prospecting time? Come on. It's the most important thing you can do every day. Why aren't you doing it?
Well, that's exactly it.
Put it on the calendar. Great.
As I've said to many of my clients, you could be the Queen of England knocking on my door, but if I'm in prospecting time, I'm in prospecting time. Treat it just like an appointment with a customer. Don't cancel it. All right. And if whatever lead generation activities you do, book that time. Right. We talked about referrals. All right. You can book some prospecting time in the morning and prospecting time in the afternoon. If you're all about referrals, then you know what? Call a customer in the morning, call a customer in the afternoon, start and end your day talking to a happy customer and getting referrals. Whatever it is, book that. If you're doing LinkedIn prospecting, whatever, book that 1 hour no matter what. Okay. And keep it. It's an appointment with yourself. We talked about how to define sales success and what you need to do each and every day to achieve it. That's where you make sure you're doing your daily activities you need to achieve it. Just book it. And Remember that workout you never had time for? Book it, right? I have one of the best things that my medical team tells me I can do to stay healthy long term is do a walk every day. I book it, okay? Because I know if I don't book it, I'm going to get caught up in something else. But that's important, right? It's important to me. Whatever time, your kids' soccer games, everything, dentist appointment, book it in, and then you can see where you have holes. So when you're doing that prospecting, you book where you have a hole next week, right? And if you're going face to face, book geographically, right? Like for example, if I had an appointment in postal code K1P, then I'm going to book all my K1Ps there to minimize the travel time, right? So it's all about choosing what's important for you to do to be successful on your own terms, and then booking the time to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
And never, ever end your day without making sure tomorrow is completely planned. I'm with you. I'm booked up weeks in advance quite often.
Yep.
But don't leave for the day unless tomorrow's completely planned, because if not, what happens is you get into your office or wherever you're working and it's like, okay, what should I do first? Well, first of all, you're probably going to pick something that's easier to do or more fun to do. But that may not be the thing that's most likely to generate revenue.
Yep.
And second of all, you're going to waste 5 to 15 minutes each time you just trying to figure out what to do. Don't do that. You want to come in and be immediately productive. And I love what you said about you don't have the time. I remember it was years ago when President Obama was president, a man who I miss, by the way. I remember seeing that, I forgot the exact time, but I think he was in the gym every day at 5 a.m, something like that. Well, my thought was, wow, if the president of the United States can find time to work out, I really don't have an excuse, do I?
Right? Exactly.
It's a matter of managing the time effectively and planning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as a sales manager, I always got worried if something unexpectedly, somebody VP or whatever called a last minute meeting. I always got worried when sales reps could fit it in. When there wasn't anything booked in their calendar, you should be booking a week in advance minimum, right? So I always, if you call a last minute meeting and your sales staff is no problem in showing up, you got bigger problems.
Absolutely right. One of my favorite things to say is, I don't want to see salespeople in the office. Get the hell out of here. Go be talking to prospects.
Yep.
What tips do you have about presentations, about presenting so that we turn prospects into clients?
That's a good question. Again, it probably depends on the prospect and it depends on what you're selling. But I think the key is don't talk about everything about your product. Okay. Talk about what's important of your product to your customer. So for example, all the best presentations start in the discovery meetings. Let's face it. Okay. The close really starts long before there's any proposal or pricing on the table. So if I come to you and I've uncovered through my discovery skills and my questioning skills up front, 3 really top important things to you, Jeff, from you about why is it important for you to increase sales? Why is it important? What is it about sales that your team really needs help with? Is it the lead generation or is it lead conversion? If I come up with 3 really important things, that's what I'm going to focus on in my presentation. Okay. In fact, if you're doing it on a slide deck, I would review, right? Here's your top 3 problems from our discovery meeting. Here's how we solve these top 3 problems. Okay. I think that's key. Another key that has worked extremely well for me and always has is our testimonials, stories, testimonials. Jeff, your problem was similar to ABC company that we worked with. Here's what we did with them. And here's the results that they found. And a testimonial quote, as I said, thanks for the training. I achieved my quota in May type thing. What I can tell anybody this, if you want to learn about sales, talk to Susan. Those kind of things I have in my presentation. They're all over the website, right? All on little yellow Post-it notes, which is a tribute to one of my brothers who runs his business on little yellow Post-it notes, but that's another story. So it's all about being able to transform your prospect from where he is and allowing them and painting that picture so he can picture the end result of where he wants to go. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
I'm not even sure what the question was anymore, but I sure love the answer. But you saying something crucial, and once again, we're in perfect agreement. Most salespeople pitch. Let me
Yep.
tell you all about how great we are. I was asking you about presenting and turning prospects into clients.
Right.
And it's not about your pitch. Look, I've been selling a long time. I'm a professional presenter, as are you. I'm great at presenting, but that's not what helps me close business. And my strong closing skills, that's not what helped me close business. It's my curiosity and my willingness to take the time to investigate them, because it's not about everything that I can offer. It's only important about what they think is important. And we can't know what that is unless we ask questions. So what we really want to do is we want to engage people in a conversation, as opposed to, let me tell you why Jeff Goldberg and Associates is the greatest company in the world.
Yeah.
I call that throwing up on the customer's shoes. It's an ugly picture. They don't like it. We don't like it. But that's what most people have been trained. You got to be a great presenter. No, you don't. I know lots of highly successful people, salespeople, who are not terrific at presenting, but they're really good at asking questions and listening actively, which most salespeople suck at. That's a technical sales training term, as you know. They suck at it. So
Exactly.
you got to be willing to ask questions and listen to the answers. But how can sales rep develop questions that create both value and differentiation from their competition?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it reminds me of a story early in my sales career. And my sales manager had a sales meeting. It was all about how to handle objections. You know, that typical, when you get the price on da 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 da. And it was a good thing. But I'm going, and I'm top rep in the country at this point in time, and I'm going, I don't have to use any of those. I don't have to use any of those. What's that? So I went into John's office afterwards, and John was great. He's very Scottish. The first month I knew John, I only laughed when he laughed because I could not understand a single word he said with his accent. And I said, John, I don't have to handle those objections. He says, yes, you do. I said, no, I don't. I don't have to use any of those. Yes, you do. You handle them all the time. You just handle them in the discovery meeting long before the presentation is on the table. And then it becomes a natural evolution of the sales process. So I learned there that the questions that you ask are critical in developing that need. It's not necessary. It's the want that's important to a customer, right? It's how are you going to help them get to where they want to go? But often they don't know where they want to go. They don't know what's available. So you have to use your questions to discover that. And one of my best ways is, everybody's dealing with a current supplier. Ever heard whether it's a prospecting objection or whether it's they're thinking it, I'm happy with my current supplier. What are you doing here, right? So one of the question techniques, again, and again, we have this template right on the website in a video. It says, Jeff, a lot of companies who are using the company that the product you're using right now, the widgets, have told us that they've experienced a problem with this. Have you ever experienced that? Would it help if we could fix that? How would it help? What would it mean to your business? Okay, so it's basically telling the story. I'm not saying the competition is bad, okay, because let's face it, in politics or in sales, talking down the competition is not a good idea. But you do have competitive advantages, and that's the key. You have to know your competitive advantages. What are true competitive advantages? It's a questioning technique that's worked for me for years. When I was selling against a Fortune 500 company that was the brand name, everybody knew it. This is how we did it. Some customers who told us they're using this brand of widgets have told us they've experienced a problem with this. Have you ever? Right? And if he says no, well, then it's not a big thing, right? And I haven't talked down the competition. But if he says yes, one, I built credibility that we've dealt with other people who are using that widget. They're now dealing with us. They had a problem with this and we fixed it. Well, that'll help you. That's what it comes down to. Will this help you? And if it won't, then why am I going to spend any time on it? That's the whole key. But you have to know your competition. You have to do the research, and you have to script the questions.
Yeah, I've got a secret for salespeople. When they get the "I'm happy with my current supplier" objection when they're talking to somebody, my response is, "Hey, I'm just curious. Then what made you take a meeting with me?" Mm-hmm. I got a secret for salespeople. Nobody takes a meeting with you because they're bored.
Yeah.
Nobody takes a meeting because they're thrilled with their current supplier. They're looking for something. Maybe they are happy, but they could be happier. Maybe they're unhappy. But nobody invites me or you, Susan, or anybody else who's listening just because they're bored.
Yep.
There's a reason they're talking to you. There's
Exactly.
it's our job to ask enough questions to find that opening. What is the competitive advantage that we can bring to the table? How can we show them how whatever they're doing now, we can help them do it better? And I could not agree more with you about the objection thing. If
Yep.
you're getting objections after you ask for the order, you've done it wrong.
Yep.
You should be getting out all the objections before you ask people to buy. Because if you don't, then once people tell you no, you're fighting an uphill battle. And I was married for 10 years. I don't need any more uphill battles. I want to make my life easier rather than hard. Look, I always say this. Sales is not an easy gig. It beats digging ditches in the hot sun, I assume, because I've never done that. But it's still not an easy gig. It takes work. Why not make it as easy as possible? Let's get all the objections out of the way by asking the right questions before we ask somebody to say, will you buy from me, in whatever words we're going to use to do that. Make your job easier.
Exactly. In fact, you shouldn't put a proposal on the table unless you have a 90% certainty that they're going to say yes. We don't make money making proposals.
This is why I love you.
That's not what put money in the bank, right?
This is why I love you, because I say this all the time. We're not in the proposal, but I'm not in the proposal business. My job is not writing proposals. My job is helping people sell more. You want a proposal from me? Why?
Right.
What is it you're looking at for?
I hear all the time from sales reps when they're prospecting. I'm happy with my current supplier. I'm happy with my current supplier. My first response is, of course they are. Otherwise, they would have called you first. And if they're calling you first, they're just looking for a better price. You're not going to close it anyway, right? So it's not that they weren't interested. It's that you weren't interesting enough. You did not have that tell me more mentality or pitch or headline, for lack of a better phrase.
Yep. A question that I get asked constantly, which blows my mind, is, Jeff, I'm being ghosted. Jeff, my prospect is no longer responding to me. Now, we already agreed that you should always get a best next action step, but do you have any suggestions for how salespeople can re-engage a prospect that's gone dark on them?
Yeah, it's a common question I get too. In fact, it's one that I put in my book, Ask the Sales Coach, Common Questions. It happens. People get busy, okay? Something else can come up, and especially in this, crazy world we live in now, you never know what's going on in the background. The key is, again, relevant content. Is did you, on your last contact, did you actually confirm with the prospect what was going to happen next? Okay, that's the key. If they said, oh, well, Jeff, I need to think about it. Well, I can appreciate that, Jeff, that you need to think about it. This is a big decision. When should I expect to hear from you? Oh, I'm going to need a day, or I'm going to need a week. Or, oh, I don't know, I'll get back to you. Well, if you get the I get back to you, then as we talked about, you missed, something in the process. But, I have to talk to my business partner. Great. Do you have regular meetings? When are you meeting next? Are we on the agenda? Get that date. So often the ghosting means that the sales rep is following up at the wrong time and they didn't get the confirmation with the prospect, in my mind, as to when that follow-up should happen. Okay. But having said that, sometimes the hottest prospects go dark. We have an email template on our website that says, hey, Jeff, I realize things are busy right now. Just wondering if anything's changed, or is it if you don't want to do business, that's fine. Is it time we close the file? And it's a good email kind of template that both my business partner Bob and I have used for a long time. It works very well. Oftentimes is, oh, no, my mother got sick, or we had a fire in the plant, or whatever, right? There's reasons, but I'd rather have a no than a maybe. The maybe on the prospect list is what 100%. Kills most sales reps.
Absolutely, positively. And once again, I'm laughing because I teach, should I close the file, in an email? That's the subject line, all in capitals with 3 question marks. Should I close the file? And then it's all about, hey, Susan, we were talking. You seem very interested. I've left you a bunch of voicemails, sent you a bunch of emails, haven't heard back. I want you to know I'm the type of salesperson who's incredibly persistent, and I'm going to keep following up until you tell me not to. But I don't want to be a pest. If you're potentially interested in doing business, let's arrange a time to talk. Let me know what works for you, and I'll find a way to accommodate your calendar. But if you're not interested, simply reply to this email and say, yes, please close the file, and I'll never darken your door again. So should I close the file? And like you said, I don't have an exact statistic, but I'd say 85% of the time people get back to you and say, no, don't close the file. We just got busy with XYZ. But
exactly.
You're re-engaged.
Yeah.
You got to keep them engaged.
Well, that's exactly. And one more point on that too, from a follow-up perspective. Don't assume that every email is getting through. Okay. The only way to truly know if your prospect actually got your email is to pick up the phone and follow up on it. All right. I can give you a situation that happened not that long ago. I got a cold email in my inbox. Not many catch my eye, but this one did. I get hundreds of them. Wrote back, yes, please do what you say you're going to do. A week went by. Are you still interested in giving me the information that you want? I'm sure I was caught up in a spam folder somewhere, and that sales rep never checks their spam filter. In fact, everybody should, not to read every spam, but just look at, is there any replies to your subject lines? Real quick, do it once a week, put it on your to-do list. But the fact of the matter is, you don't know if your email is getting through. So pick up the phone. Hi, Jeff, it's Susan from B2B Sales Connections. Sent you that email that you requested on yesterday. Just wanted to make sure you received it and it didn't get caught in a spam filter somewhere. Okay, that's the voicemail. And then they'll look for it. If he does pick up the phone, oh, hey, Jeff, I just wanted to make sure you got my email. You might say, Susan, I haven't had time to look at it. No problem. Just wanted to make sure you received it. When should I get back to you to discuss it? And you book that appointment right there and then. And if you have, yeah, Susan got the email. Great. What did you think? And you can open the sales process up right there again. Follow up on those emails. A lot of times ghosting isn't by choice too.
Absolutely. In your one of your many books, this one, Action Plan for Sales Success,
Yep.
One of the things you discuss is goal setting and action planning. And I think this is a perfect time of year to discuss this because we're getting towards the end of the year.
Yep.
Any tips on goal setting that you want to share with us?
Yeah. Well, one, do it.
Good idea.
And it goes right back to where we started our conversation today is no, goals are more than quota. Okay. What is it that you want to accomplish? Not just what your sales manager wants you to accomplish, but what is it that you want to accomplish? And define it. Okay. You're right. I have a whole chapter in my book, Action Plan for Sales Success, on goal setting. And if you want to have a sneak peek, go to our website, download the goal setting and action planning worksheet. Okay. And figure out what it is that you need to do each and every day to succeed. Okay. Get it right down to how many contacts do you have to make enough sales to earn that income to buy that golf membership or that boat or that car, right? You get right down to it, but you have to do it and you have to track your progress towards it. This is what gets me is, okay, a lot of people do their goal setting, but they have no means to track how well they're doing. How many calls did you make? Track it. If you don't think tracking works, why are people like me wearing a Fitbit every day? It works. You have to track your progress too. So don't just set the goals, set realistic goals, actionable goals, measurable goals, and then track what it is that you do to make sure that you're on pace.
Absolutely. I was just glancing over at my calendar to see what the numbers actually are. And New Year's Eve is 4 weeks from today. We are at the end of the year, my friends. As I get older and older, Susan, it seems like it's always New Year's.
Yep.
Summer vacation took a million years when I was 8, but now it's New Year's, and New Year's is actually 4 weeks from today. Any particular tips on closing out the year strong? I know, a lot of people really give up towards the middle of this month if they haven't already given up. Nobody wants to talk to me. Certainly, you can't talk to anybody between Christmas and New Year's, which is a crock of crap. What tips do you have for closing out the year strong?
It's the year-end sales push is on. And I look at my calendar and I look, really the year-end isn't the 31st. In my mind, it's probably this year, the 23rd. When business shuts down for the holidays. There's so much, the hurry up and wait attitude or mental thought in this time, I always found very stressful. The year-end sales push. You're rushing around trying to close everything that you can, but then you're just waiting, thinking there's nothing to do, right? Well, there is something to do. So here's some things that I recommend that you do. First, go through your active prospect list and realistically figure out what's going to close this year and what's going to be put off to the new year. Okay. If there's something that you can do to close a deal this year, do it now. Don't wait, just do it. If they need a demo, get a demo. If you can't do a demo, take a video, right? Do whatever it is. If they have a question, find the answer to the question. but also ask, is this something realistically, Jeff, that you want to do this year, or is as a company decided to put it off to the new year? Put it off to the new year. Great. At least that maybe's off. Second thing is, we talked about referrals. We talked about talking to customers. This is a great time to pick up the phone and start contacting some customers, right? How's it going? Season's greetings. Are there any other companies you know of that we should also be talking to? What are their names? Can I use your name introduction? Talk about a fantastic prospect list for January is all the referrals that you get in December. Okay. But also goal setting. Look back and say, what skills can I improve as a salesperson? Okay. What if I knew something more this year? Would I have sold more? Well, what a great time for personal development. Okay. Pick up a book. Go learn something new about your product and how that will benefit the customer. Who was it? Alan Weiss, who said, if I improve just 1% a day in 70 days, I'm twice as good, right? So work the numbers. Is there something you can improve on? Take a sales training course. If you're a sales manager, do maybe a 30-minute rah-rah session every morning with your team and go over a new feature and how that can benefit. Improve your sales skills. Read a book. Take a webinar. Something like that, right? But the fact of the matter is, you can fill your day with very productive activities, okay? But the main thing is keep prospecting, right? They may not be opening something today, but they'll be opening something up in January.
Yep, I'm going to add in a couple more. One is don't stop prospecting. Do not stop, because unless you have an incredibly short sales cycle, this year's actually already done. This year's done for me. Everything I'm doing now is for Q1. So
November, December is all one big ones.
Yeah, you don't want to get to January 2nd and go, oh, there's nothing to do. Now I got to start the process over. So that's certainly you don't want to do. The second thing is stop thinking that the week between Christmas and New Year's is dead. It's not. Now, I don't know about in Canada, if all the businesses close, then yes, it is dead. But not everybody closes here. And additionally, people who are working that week between Christmas and New Year's, that's typically a more relaxed time, which means it's a great time to contact people. And that's what most salespeople won't do. Do what most salespeople won't do. Do the stuff that people don't do. And finally, one of the things that this was taught to me by my mentor. And when he said it, I'm like, that's not going to work, except I've proven it does. Call up your clients and just say, hey, by the way, do you have any budget you need to dump? By that, what I mean is people get a budget, like in the sales training world, people have a budget allotted each year for sales training. And if they don't, let's say they have $200,000 for sales training. If they don't use it, they don't get another 200,000 next year. If they used 150, they're only getting 150. So quite often they want to dump budget so that they don't lose the budget. And I've had more than one client that said, oh, that's such a great idea. Can I send you $50,000 now? Can we use it next year? Yes, please do. I love getting $50,000 checks. Absolutely. I called one client, I think it was 2 years ago, and I had that conversation. She goes, could I send you a check for $25,000? I said, sure, why not? We can use that next year. I mean, it's like heaven. And all you're doing is making the suggestion, which they're not thinking about. They need to dump that budget. So make the call. If
they don't spend the budget, they lose the budget. I live in Ottawa, okay, which is the Washington, D.C. equivalent in Canada, okay? Government fiscal year ends, the same thing. Any fiscal year end is they have to spend the budget or lose the budget. It's up to us to help them do it, right?
Absolutely. Let's see if I can share the right screen. Here we go. Susan, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they best do that? I'm sharing my screen right now, but why don't you go through the best ways to reach you?
Yeah, it's all our contact information is on our website, b2bsalesconnections.com. My email address is there. My phone number is there. You can book a strategy session with me right there. Reach out on LinkedIn, right? We've got a big group on LinkedIn, as well as a company page. My contact information is on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your feedback on today's session. And I'd love to connect and share ideas to help people sell more. That's why I do what I do.
Yep. So I often get asked by people in this group, hey, Jeff, why do you bring on these other trainers who are your competitors and give away their contact information? That's because I have an abundance mentality. I believe that giving gets you. And I want to share as much as I possibly can with the sales world so that we are elevating the profession of sales. And I got to say, Susan, your website is chock full of free information that's so useful. If you guys aren't going to Susan's website and checking it out, that's crazy. And I understand why people are, are saying to me, why would you want to drive it to the competition? Don't worry. If I can help you guys, it's helping me too somehow. It always comes back. So go check out Susan's website. I'm telling you, I always do research for these calls because I want to find out questions. I hadn't been to Susan's website for quite a while. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so much great free stuff here. You're giving it away. Now, look, we both know why we do this, because when you give enough away, sometimes people say, I need more and I'm willing to pay you for it.
Yep.
I'm being completely transparent. We're not just doing this because we love people. Oh, there's that too. But I'm telling you, Susan's website, guys, go check it out. Lots and lots of free stuff. Susan, thank you so much. This hour flew by, as they always do. I love speaking with you, and I love all the really down to earth fundamental things that you have to say. Any last words?
Pleasure to be here. And as you say, nobody has a monopoly on good information. And thank you, Jeff, for sharing all your good stuff, because I learned from it too. Our learning should never stop, and that's why we do this. It's been a pleasure. It really has. And let's stay well, and let's all get out there and sell more.
Thank you, my friend. And I'll end this as I always do. My friends, sales is a game of making things happen. So get out there and make sales happen. Have a great weekend, everyone.